Good evening. You are viewing Wisdom Keys for Focusing on Your Passion. LaunchPad Consultancy, in collaboration with VisionWorks Solutions, bring to you Book Club Conversations Series 3. And in this series, entrepreneurs and professionals are reading the book, The Uncommon Dream, 31 Wisdom Keys for Focusing on the Passion of Your Heart, written by author Mike Murdoch. I am your host, Alina Lewis, and today's discussion is centered around chapter 21, entitled The Uncommon Dream Determines What You Become Willing to Do. Joining me this evening is Janine Caesar, owner of JC Charm, and Michelle Ellis, owners of Matty's Resort Inn in Mayaro. So I'm going to be pulling them into our virtual studio even now. Hi, ladies. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good evening,
I
hi.
am keeping well. Guys, we're on day number 21. Listen, I remember when it was day number 1. And it was like, whoa, this is a long journey ahead. And here we are, day number 21, been on every night with these book club convos. And I'm so happy to be able to meet with different ones of you and have some of you come back round and round time again. Because Janine, you've been in convo with me a couple of times. Michelle, of course, this is your second time. And I'm really excited to have both of you here, even as we get into Chapter 21, talking about the uncommon dream determines what you are willing to change. I'll say that again. The uncommon dream determines what you become willing to change. Question every night: what stands out to you the most when you consider chapter 21?
Michelle? Okay, for me, what stood out is the reasons, when he spoke about the reasons for resisting change. And some of the reasons, it really made me sit back and think, how much of a difference it could make when you accept the change and try to work with it and try to make it benefit your business and your personal life.
Yeah. Okay, Michelle, what about you? What would have stood out the most from chapter 21?
I think it's the place of and the role of wisdom in the decision making, because I think I could not have said it better than Dr. Mike himself, where he said that your circumstances, and I'm just quoting here, your circumstances are created by your decisions, and your decisions are the product of your wisdom. So a lot of times, because people lack wisdom, they make certain decisions, and then we, the society, have to bear the brunt of, the outcome for the person, and you find yourself, rushing to have to help them if they have 6, 7, 8 children, out of wedlock, or even in unfortunate circumstances, or living, from changing jobs, and just dropping out of school, or getting married to the wrong person. There's so many things, like a whole, the snowball effect, because wisdom was not part of the whole information process for the ultimate, decision that they make. But the pattern, that sequence, it's really wisdom informs decisions, and decisions inform the outcome, your circumstances. I think that stood out for me. At least I saw it in my own life. Had I known then what I know now, I would be exceptional.
Yeah. One of the things Mike Murdoch mentions in the book, he references the importance of knowing why change is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask, when you reflect on your own entrepreneurial journey, why do you believe change is necessary as you consider your own journey? What has been maybe the red flags or the green flags that would have gone out to indicate change, so that even as persons who would view the program, listen on, they could do their own sense of introspection and look at their own journey? Michelle?
I would say that for me, those red flags, right, with respect to change. One is that when I feel very comfortable, right, I know it's time to pull myself up by the bootstraps and start working harder, particularly in this business. Right, I may have bookings like, for a whole month every weekend, and then I get comfortable. I don't post. I don't try to make contact with former guests, right? Because I'm booked up, so I'm good. So I take that time to relax. I think I've learned the hard way that that is exactly the time that I need to be working, right? And also another thing is the whole idea of steps every day
Yeah.
towards the that goal that I have. So if I don't take steps daily, it means I'm not growing. I'm not making any changes, right? And therefore making poor decisions because I'm using my time not to build or edify myself or the business. I'm just basically just thinking I have free time and I'm rewarding myself, but rewarding myself for what? So that would be for me red flags, with respect to decisions that ultimately result in change,
I
right?
want to, I want to bring in a part B there, Michelle, that you mentioned, um, between poor decisions.
Mm.
And I could imagine someone looking on at the conversation saying, "But if you booked up, how are your decisions poor?" So I want to ask you, in your life, how do you define or recognize poor decisions? What are poor decisions to you in your life?
Um, I would say that poor decisions have to do with not making daily advances towards the goal that I've set for myself. All right, that's one. And I think that is the most important because I know myself, each person is different. And because I can't do the whole long haul, I have to take baby steps every day, right? And when you have a vision, because that's what we had talked about the last time, you're working daily to achieve that. And I think you have this big vision for yourself, but then you have a series of action steps that you must take, and that has to be done daily. So that is poor decisions for me would be not doing something every day to help me to move towards my goal. Also because if I don't do that, I get distracted, you see, and I start focusing on things that do not benefit or edify the dream. It may also lead me to have so much time that I get comfortable and I don't want to push forward. And I feel like what you do, right, is a reflection. What you do in any one given period is a reflection of how you do everything. The saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. So I try my best to be on my game daily. That way I can put balance in my life and I don't have to rush at the tail end of it to try and scramble. And also opportunities knock at your door every day. So if I wait, I may miss those opportunities. You see? So yeah, so that is how I define poor decisions in my life. It's missing opportunities. It's not being organized, right? The Bible says no man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom. So it's a push, it's a daily kind of push. At least I see it that way, right?
Perfect. Janine, thank you, Michelle. Janine, what about you? As you reflect on your own entrepreneurial journey, why do you believe change is necessary? What's your perspective on it as you consider inwardly?
Well, life is ever changing. Life is ever changing, and you need to be able to flow with it. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. As simple as that. Things that were relevant or that could have worked before, it definitely cannot work now. And sometimes change can make things so much easier for you. It can make a big impact in what it is you want to do, whether it be business or life. It can make such a big impact. So you need to be able to see how that change, and don't resist it. That is the most important thing. Don't resist any change that is coming your way. Because in the last chapter, we spoke about favor. When that favor comes, you need to be able to discern if that change, when it comes, if it's going to make such a big change in your life that is going to grow it, or it's going to harm, or it's going to have a negative effect. Hopefully it's going to have a positive effect, but you need to be able, when that favor comes, to work with it and change and become better, because I believe all of us want to become better, and in order to become better you need to be able to change, and that change sometimes will become uncomfortable just for a little while. It would be uncomfortable, but just it would be uncomfortable to make us great, so you need to be polished with that change. Look out for it, accept it, because it's always going to come, it is always going to be there. So look out for that change, see if you can work with it so that you can make yourself become a better person.
Yeah, Michelle made mention of it, where in the book, Mike Murdoch talked about the importance of being willing to take small daily steps towards change. And my question to you is, how do you position yourself to make those small daily steps? And I ask because there are many entrepreneurs who struggle with that. That there are persons, whether they're now getting in, it's a personality trait, a habit, whatever, or they've been doing it that way for a long time. They don't like small steps, and they're only positioned to take a step when it's a big leap and not necessarily a small step. So my question to you is, and I'll just continue with you, Janine, as you were chatting a moment ago. How do you position yourself to take small steps so that it can become almost like a daily routine or a daily experience for you? What's your thought process behind that?
For me, as Misha said, those baby steps, changing one habit, um I wouldn't say a day, because that would be a bit difficult. They say it takes 90 days to break a habit. So decide what is the greatest uh, hindrance to that dream, and try to make a small step in changing that. So if you know you're accustomed to working at a particular time of the day, and okay, well, they say it's supposed to work from this time to that time, but how about if I go just an hour earlier or just an hour later? See if that makes a big impact, or see if it makes any impact um, towards that dream. So start with looking at the little things that you can change, and then just keep adding things to it. And eventually, you're going to see the big impact.
Yeah, Michelle, what about you?
I agree with Janine in that regard. Um, I think it's a process where you consciously engage the change when it comes to those little steps. So you start paying attention to what works and what doesn't work. I call it the pain and the pleasure principle. So you do these little things and it causes pain. You still have to do them, mind you, because it's in building your business. But if it creates pain, but you've just taken a baby step, that pain is bearable. You understand? And you can sit down and you can properly document and you can calculate, okay, this is what I did. This is the result that I got. I didn't like it. So let me go revisit this little thing, this little area, and see what corrections I can make. And you work on that particular area only. If it's time management, so you keep working on that until you've mastered it, right? I mean, most of us have had the experience of dressing in the car halfway there, because you're rushing, you're late for an appointment. And I keep saying, Lord, I promise you, if you could just let me get there on time, this time I wouldn't do it again. But I keep getting up the same time every day, and it's never going to work. So I've realized, look, if I get up early and I put things in place, right, I can then successfully arrive on time. That was a process, and I worked only on that and nothing else. Everything else in my life was chaos, but just I'm working on this right now. And then another thing, never having money on my phone. So when I'm in an emergency, I can't call, and then you have to come up with some kind of story to explain why you couldn't, and it's not professional. So I started saying, look, consciously, I'm going to keep an extra phone card in my car. I'm going to put extra minutes on my phone, that kind of thing. Or I'm going to come up with buy a plan and use it only for these emergencies. And I worked on that until I was able to master it. Janine said 90 days. I use the 30-day thing. And if I fail, I try 30 more days. And then I go another 30 days. So
Yeah.
those are the baby steps
Hello.
in
Yeah.
terms of,
I
developing.
think to in complement what both of you are saying, I think as well it's important to mention the fact that making those small changes don't always come from a positive space or a positive emotion. It's not always a pleasurable experience.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes making small steps comes from a place of sacrifice,
Yeah.
meaning that the change isn't always nice. It's not always
Mhm.
convenient. But because there is a goal, we must sacrifice and do what we are to do, whether it's something that's time based, relational, or otherwise. We just have to make the sacrifice to have the change because sometimes I think what happens as well is that there is this assumption that if I make the change, I get a positive result and it all works out beautifully. And sometimes making change is not that either. Sometimes making change is just that making change. And it takes like a teething process to go through to figure it out. And that even brings me to even where the author says that, or he emphasizes the importance of recognizing some change is just not going to happen instantly. It's going to be progressive. It's going to take time. It's not always going to feel good. But my question to you ladies is this: how do you stay motivated when the result of the change is not instant but rather progressive? And I'll take it a bit further. Not only when the result of the change is not instant, but just the experience of being able to make the change is not instant. Because sometimes you try. I'll give you a simple example. It's like if it is you're trying to lose weight, and so the goal is to lose weight. The change is I need to exercise. So sometimes the progress is I'm exercising, then I lose the weight. But sometimes just making the change is a process by itself because you tell yourself I'll exercise in the morning, then your work schedule change. So you say, all right, I'll try to exercise in the night, but then just, your
It,
babies are up and they have homework. You can't do it in the night. So then you'll be like, oh God, I can't even make the change. So sometimes not only is the outcome progressive, but just figuring out how to pin down the change and make the change is in itself progressive. How do you stay motivated? Whatever end of that spectrum you may have experienced, how do you stay motivated? Janine, you smile the biggest just now, so I pick it up. How do you how do you stay motivated?
I have a vision board, and if I know I have a goal, I put things on that vision board to constantly remind me this is what you want to achieve. Sometimes you're watching the vision board. I don't want to do it today, but it's there remind me get it done, get it done. Um, that is something that I always use. That vision board, it really helps, even if I have to do events, and I know this is the outcome that I want. Um, it helps to keep me on track. It's constantly there telling me, okay, you want this to look this way, then make sure you organize yourself to get that done. When that is organized, okay, the next thing that is next to that on the vision board, work on that. That's how I keep myself motivated into making those changes, into getting the outcome that I want. That vision board helps.
So for you, use a vision board to keep yourself progressive, to keep yourself motivated when the outcome or
Motivated,
the
yes.
experience of change is progressive. What about you, Michelle?
Well, I also have a vision board, as I mentioned in the last show. But for me to actually stay motivated, because you have to actually look at the vision board that you have, and you have to look at
Yeah.
it really hard. Um, but I think of the people who are counting on me, because one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Murdoch is somebody's life will not begin until you walk through the door. And I keep saying to myself, somebody is depending on me to win. So when I win, I can help that other person, right? Turns out that it's lots of them. And very recently, I posted something really silly on Facebook. I don't usually post. My posts are serious, I would say, by my standard, And I posted this little Kermit looking really sad, legs folded, in a kind of fetal position. And I had so many messages like, what's going on? Is everything okay? And it made me realize that I am accountable to a lot of people. So that is, I think, the main thing for me. And also, what keeps me motivated is the fact that I am God's child and I'm representing his kingdom. So apart from people looking, my failure is going to be it will misrepresent what he is able to do in my life. And that is just from a very personal spiritual perspective. So when I get out there, getting out there is the problem, but once I'm out there, I have to win because God is counting on me to look a particular way because he has redeemed me, he has transformed me, and he's given me a word. And I usually don't move out unless I have a word from him. And once I have it, just not, I'm not going to fail. That's how I feel. So that keeps me motivated. The fact that my mom always says, you're looking left, you're looking right, but did you look up? So so I just, I look up and then I look around at the people who are counting on me, and that's how I know that I have to do this thing. And then I look at my vision board and say, okay, Michelle, you have to get it done.
That vision board, as soon as I get up and get out of the bedroom, it's there staring at me. If I walk inside, it's there staring at me. So it holds me accountable.
Yeah.
Awesome. And even before we continue, to those who are viewing live, we just want to remind you that yes, you can say hi and chime in on the conversation because we love hearing from those who are viewing live with us. Be sure to remember to subscribe and click that notification bell. Share the link with others so that just as you are enjoying the convo, others can benefit and be inspired by it as well. But my final prompt, ladies, because we know when we start these conversation, time just go real quick.
Yes.
I want to know, Mike Murdoch said in the book that we ought to embrace change. We must be willing to move into the next season of life. And my question is, how do you prepare yourself to embrace change? Because as we know, again, there are a lot of people who have challenges with change. They have challenges with accepting it. And not only are we talking about accepting the change, but now we're saying take it a step further. Embrace the change. Celebrate the fact that you have to go through change. Be joyous about the change. How do you prepare yourself, whether mentally, emotionally, or in your circumstance, in your business operations, whatever level you maybe want to comment on, how do you prepare yourself to embrace change? Open question. Anybody can jump in.
All right. Well, let me take the lead on this one, Janine.
Sure.
Remember we said before that the decision is informed by your wisdom, right? And then there are certain the outcome will be certain circumstances, right? So I feel like the answer is in your wisdom, the level of wisdom. So when you have a certain level of wisdom, you will make a decision, and that decision will ultimately produce an outcome. So the answer is in the wisdom that informs you. So that's how you prep yourself to begin with. So you go to the very root of it and then you take it from there. If you have limited wisdom, the Bible says, my people are destroyed for a lack of wisdom, of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And most times we don't want to embrace, we can't embrace because we don't have the foresight, we don't have what is necessary. I mean, there are lots of changes taking place now with the technology, and a lot I have not jumped on the bandwagon because I just don't understand it, and I'm kind of scared as to how it might come across. But I'm realizing that when I sit down and I YouTube a lot of things, and I talk to friends, and I realize how this thing works. So it's like, oh, it's not so bad. E-commerce is not so bad. This is not so bad. That is not so bad. But I didn't know before. So once you plug in the wisdom factor, you are able then to embrace what you know. right? And of course, given the whole pain and pleasure principle, and you're doing it one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time, it works out eventually. At least that is how I see it from my own life and perspective.
Yeah.
So anything that we don't really want to embrace is really an indication of the level of rebellion that we're operating in, you know, largely because, like you said earlier, change is inevitable. So, you know, why not if it's going to produce a good result? People look at you and they say, oh, you have all of this and you've achieved all of that. But they don't understand it's a process. You understand? And it has taken many years in some instances, right?
It's a process and it's a price.
Yes.
Janine, what are your thoughts on that?
I tend to agree with Michelle. However, I have always been a curious person. So I see something new, I want to try it out. But this is where I agree with Michelle. I try to inform myself before I do make that change because I don't want to be, as she said, I don't want to make that change coming from an informed place. I need to know all the ins, the outs. Let me give an just cutting my hair. For those who know me, I had long locks before. Before I cut my hair, I went into research about hair care for short hair, what to expect when you cut your locks, what to expect with the mental and the emotional state that you're going to be. I go from an informed place. I
Mhm.
can't help it. I'm going to go. You're not going to stop me from going, but I'm going to find out everything that I can about that decision before I make that decision and make that step. I need to be informed. Even if I'm not informed, sorry, not if I'm not informed, if I'm not well informed, I can be informed, but you can always learn more. I try to get mentors and I ask people, what about this? From those things that I couldn't garner myself, I go to mentors. What about this that you know? Can you help me? What do you know that what do you know that I need to know that I don't know? So that when I do step, I'm coming from an informed place. I always try to do that. And I'm not always going to get it right. Sometimes I am going to falter, but I'm going to make that step. So me being always curious and me always wanting to be, what's going on there? How can I apply that to myself? How can I apply that to the business? How can I apply that to anything that I have? It's always going to be with me. It's always going to help me in that regard.
Yeah, and I just want to add to what both of you are saying by emphasizing the importance of being committed to your vision. A lot of times we have a vision, we have a thing that we want to do, but we're not always committed. Some of us, we're not always committed to the vision. So that way, when it becomes challenging or when change is required, we say, oh, I can't do that, that's too much, and we walk away. But when we challenge ourselves to be committed, to recognize the vision, the original reason why you got into this thing, and you be committed to that vision, it makes it easy to embrace the change because you're unpacking a vision. It's inside of you. You're not running away from it, but you're really looking at, I need to work this thing out. I need to live it out because it's an expression of something that is on the inside or a need that I see, and I want to make impact in that area. And even as we talk about impact, Janine, can you take a minute and just share with persons about the impact that you're making in events through JC Charm?
Well, with JC Charm and with, again, the craziness that is 2020, I am on a drive to become as virtual as possible because COVID is no joke. Yes, we can wear masks to keep ourselves and to keep others safe, but there's nothing like staying at home and ensuring that everyone is safe. So right now, JC Charm is on a drive to become virtual. We're trying to take our events virtual, where you can stay at home, sip your wine, sip your juice, sip your tea, and you have fun, but you also take in all that we have to offer. that is the drive we have right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Michelle, even as you continue providing services through Matty's Resort Inn, can you take a minute to share about how you guys are functioning under COVID and the services that you have available for persons wanting what you have to offer?
Right. Thank you for the opportunity. Well, because people are able to come into this space, um, it's private 2 and 1 bedroom apartments. They have their own compound parking, right? They have all their basic amenities provided. They have their own access. It's coded entry, so we don't need to be there. Most of the bookings are done online, so individuals can make their bookings. They show up. Everything is prepared for them. They have their own kitchenette. They have their own space, so they utilize what they need and then they leave. So there's enough, ample, all of the protocols with respect to protecting people and keeping them safe has been applied. So yes, we do welcome individuals and we take couples and no more than 5 persons from the same group or family. So we do observe the protocols and we try to keep our guests as safe as possible.
I appreciate that. So, ladies, thank you so much, as always, for coming in and joining in on the conversation. Remember, guys, we're live every night until December 20th with Series 3 of Book Club Conversations. Until the next one, have a good night, everybody.